Hi everyone! My apologies, it's been a couple weeks since I put anything out, but did want to talk about this year's WrestleMania. Basically similar to me reviewing TV and movies, let's give it a shot at voting the show of shows, the granddaddy of them all, WrestleMania, because it was a big one this year. Now, I'll be honest, the hype was lackluster, probably more so than ever going into WrestleMania this year, where there was only really a small handful of matches I actually cared about. And they didn't do a lot of gimmick matches, which was interesting. Usually WrestleMania is good for, say, like a ladder match, or a cage match, or you know, something more than just a standard match. But the vast majority of matches were straightforward matches. The problem with WWE is that most of these matches you've seen before in some variation. So it's hard to get hyped about matches that you've seen probably 100 times before on Raw or SmackDown or previous pay-per-views. So we're going to break it down, both Night 1 and Night 2, kind of roll through it pretty quickly here, just to give my thoughts, because there were a few times I had some strong opinions, I guess you could say. But let's talk about WrestleMania, what's the number now? 38! WrestleMania 38. Let's go.
This is Robert Stack, and when I'm not solving mysteries, I'm watching Tomwashere.
Alright, and thanks to the legend Robert Stack for that opening. Try not to think about it too hard. Okay, WrestleMania 38. Night 1, because this was spread over 2 nights, Saturday and Sunday. So WrestleMania Saturday, the opening bout was the Usos defending against Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs. Rick Boogs somehow got himself over. What he seems to have got himself over with the gimmick that Elias had for a thing, although I think he's a better guitar player if it's actually him playing. But the problem is that there's been versions of this match before. And unfortunately what happened in this one is that Rick Boogs ended up getting injured. He tried to lift both Usos up, and I think he might have... They said it was a ruptured quad or something like that. I thought it was part of the match, kind of like a work, because usually the referee will put up like an X symbol if someone's injured. That did not happen, but apparently he was carried out and he had like a ruptured quad. So he's out probably for a long time, which is a shame because him and Nakamura, you know, WWE loves to just throw people together and make them a tag team with almost no chemistry, and some of them can pull it off. I didn't assume that Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs could pull this off when they first paired them together. But sure enough, you know, I would say they're okay as a tag team, but they had to kind of rush to the finish on that one. Okay, second match of the night is Drew McIntyre versus Happy Corbin, with, you know, Baron Corbin. I'll be honest, I never really liked Baron Corbin. I just wasn't buying the gimmick, especially his first gimmick coming out. The only time I liked Baron Corbin was when he was down and out. They had this storyline where he like lost all this money and he couldn't, you know, he just had like bad luck and, you know, just kept getting like beat and, you know, just it was the sad Corbin. And then he went to Las Vegas and won all this money back, and now he's Happy Corbin. I wasn't buying him anything other than sad Corbin. Give me more of that. But Happy Corbin doesn't do it for me, unfortunately. And Drew McIntyre is good, but this match didn't, like... Once again, it's one of these matches that, like, you've seen versions of. You've seen this match so many times. Like, can you get hyped up for this match that you've seen so many times now? It's not like, you know, WrestleMania is the showcase of shows. If you're going to put the same people in a match you've already seen before, make it a gimmick match. Make it a false count anywhere, tables, something to kind of hype you up. But if it's just a straightforward, nothing on the line, just pinfall match, what's the point? I mean, they did an okay job. And finally, at the end of it, Drew McIntyre carries a sword to the ring. This is the first time he actually used it on anything. But I assume if you bring a sword to the ring, that you're eventually killing someone, and they tease it. It is sports entertainment after all, but like, why would anybody else? But it's one thing, like when Triple H would bring like a sledgehammer to a ring for certain matches, his intent was to use it. Drew McIntyre brings a sword to the ring because it's like, it looks cool. So I mean, use it. It's one time, but he actually did. No, he didn't kill anyone with it, but he did slice the ring ropes in half. Just kind of sliced them down the right down the middle, and they did a little gimmick thing where it broke all the ropes and stuff. He didn't end up hitting the bottom rope. It kind of like clanged off the bottom rope. But I mean, look, they got to have something special for WrestleMania. Like I said, this is matches you've seen before. Now, the first match that was not really a gimmick, but and I'm going to use this term loosely, celebrity involvement. Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio with The Miz and Logan Paul. Look, I don't shy away from it. I'll tell you straight out, I hate the Paul brothers. They've ruined boxing forever. Those fake matches that they put on, I'm not buying. Logan Paul did more real things in this match than anything he's ever done in a boxing ring. Those matches are fake. There's more than enough evidence to see that they're fake. And it's used to basically to get everybody that's involved rich. Are we saying, honestly, that Logan Paul stood toe-to-toe with Floyd Mayweather in the ring? If Mayweather wanted to put him down, he could have put him down. And in fact, there's a point in that match, and you can go on YouTube and watch it, where he does put him down, and you see like the eyes gloss over, and him start to fall, and Mayweather catch him. That's when I knew this was fake. And plus, Jake Paul is even significantly worse than Logan Paul, because all he does is fight guys that are well past their prime. I give Logan Paul some credit, even though it's a fake match, getting him in the ring with, say, a Floyd Mayweather. But Jake Paul just gets in the ring with like dudes that were like washed in UFC like 10 years ago or 15 years ago, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna be a big bad boxer. Never fights someone his age. Never fights real boxers. One day he's gonna get real cocky, thinking he's something, and actually fight a real boxer and get lit up. But anyway, I sidetracked. I noticed watching this match that Logan Paul, was able to, string some moves together. And actually, that's a theme throughout the entire weekend. There's quite a few non-wrestlers that have matches at WrestleMania. And Logan Paul was one of them. And he did a pretty good job. Except for, not to rush to the finish here, but I noticed everybody on Twitter was kind of hyping up that this dude is legit. And he's the greatest. And he's really good. There's certain people that have a spell that they put over other people. A handful of people in there that it seems that I don't know if it's just people have no faith in him, that him doing a better job than they expected was him doing that much better of a job. But with Logan Paul, I didn't think he was good, but he wasn't like Bad Bunny good when Bad Bunny showed up and did some wild moves. He wasn't as good as some of the other people that ended up wrestling on day 2. He was just okay. And he can't sell at all. Part of the art of wrestling is it's not just looking like, oh, you could just slam people around and look dominating. No, you have to sell. You have to sell the idea that you're being hurt or you're being thrown around. Logan Paul can't sell. I know that because if you watch the end of the match, he got hit with someone's finishing move. When you get hit with a finishing move in wrestling, you should know. You have to lay there and sell it for, 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes. Pretend like you were hit with a cannon. You're supposed to lay there devastated. This dude goes hopping up 10 seconds later. There are giants. There are people in wrestling, people that are way bigger than Logan Paul that got hit with this move, and they laid there like they got hit by a brick. Like they're laying there holding their head or whatever, and this dude hops right back up. Then, 30 seconds later, his tag partner, The Miz, hits him with his finishing move. And sure enough, after about 10 seconds, he hops right back up. And you're like, no, dummy. Did anybody... I get that he's a terrible actor. He's terrible. I mean, I get that he's a terrible actor. But you have to lay there and pretend like you were hurt for a couple seconds. That's part of the thing. So, I'll be honest, I noticed a lot of people hyping up Logan Paul like he's the second coming. And clearly The Miz giving him his finishing move at the end is going to set something up for SummerSlam. And they're going to drag this out with this bozo. He can go away. Him and his brother can go away forever for all I care. But yeah, they're going to make this into a thing with him. I'm not... I said, I'm not... Of all the people that were part-time wrestlers that I would like to see wrestle, he is significantly down the list. Significantly. So, I mean, they're going to do it. I don't... He's probably clearly making some good money out of this. Maybe the boxing well has run dry because, you know, who wants to watch their terrible fake boxing matches anyway? So maybe if you're going to be fake about it, maybe at least do it where at least the you can show off some moves and the match is predetermined and they're going to protect you. They're not going to make you lose because, of course, he won against a legend like Rey Mysterio, which is a shame, but what are you going to do? All right, then we actually get into matches. We get into like real WrestleMania matches, which is Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair. Becky Lynch, is really turned herself into something, and Bianca Belair is, basically they're both championship worthy. Is what I would put it. Bianca Belair is probably the strongest person that they have in the women's division. She's like the Cesaro, I guess you could say. She's done some pretty impressive things. Now, the one thing I will say from this is that the first time that I've ever seen, and maybe I haven't watched a ton of Bianca Belair matches, but this is the first time I remember seeing someone use Bianca Belair's hair, because she has like a hair braid that goes all the way down, basically to her legs. But this is the first time I've ever seen someone use it like they did old IRS's necktie, where they just pulled it constantly. Becky Lynch was doing work on that, and they had a hell of a match. I really enjoyed this match. I thought it was pretty good back and forth. There was one point where Becky did like a flip off the top rope, and she's supposed to land, her legs are supposed to land like around Bianca's head, like right here, and she ended up kicking her right in the face. And I mean, there's no hiding that she kicked her right in the face. And it was receipt worthy. So those not familiar with wrestling, if you accidentally hit someone or you hit someone too hard, they're going to give you a receipt, which is they're going to give you the hit that hard back. I didn't notice if it happened in this match or not, but it was certainly deserving of it. And Bianca Belair ended up pulling it off. Back in SummerSlam, when Becky Lynch came back, returned and beat Bianca Belair in 4 seconds, basically made her look like a paper champion. Is what I mean, just like a terrible, just beat her. This was only fair to give Bianca the win, given that situation. But yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I probably the match of the night up to that point. Now the next one, Seth Rollins had a mystery opponent of Vince McMahon's choosing. And, basically Seth Rollins couldn't find an opponent, tried several times to get into WrestleMania, wasn't able to get in, even though he's probably one of the best wrestlers in their program, in WWE, and they couldn't find an opponent for him. So the idea is that he's of Vince McMahon's choosing. And there were strong indicators of who it could be, and I thought maybe WWE would try to swerve, try to do the, it's a rabbit out of the hat, but it's actually something else, because everybody in the world knows it was Cody Rhodes returning from AEW. But I thought maybe they'd try to pull something different, but it actually was Cody Rhodes. And kudos to WWE. I'll give them credit for basically, they didn't have him come back as Stardust or any of this garbage. He's coming back as Cody Rhodes like he was presented in AEW, with the same theme music, with the same look, with the same style. WWE could easily have messed that up. Easily have messed that up. And Cody cashed in, so he don't care. But luckily, he's coming back as the AEW version of it, to probably a much bigger payday than what he had in the AEW, and definitely what he had when he left WWE a few years ago. So he raised this quote. He raised this quote pretty significantly, and I thought they had a pretty good match, all told. And this does open the avenue, which WWE desperately needs, of a new star that they could put into a program, because to be honest, the product, it gets stale. They don't have bankable stars, and that leads into later on event of the, let's put it this way, the later on main event of this WrestleMania Saturday goes to prove that they don't have bankable stars. But I'll get to that in a second. The Cody Rhodes Seth Rollins match was a pretty good match. And it's exciting because you have a guy coming that was kind of like the figurehead of AEW coming into WWE, and it opens the gates for all of these matchups he can face against all of these WWE people. Makes it new, exciting, and fresh. Something, that's just not the same status quo that it seems like WWE does these days. I'm excited to see where they're going with it. Cody Rhodes wins the match. And really excited to see where they go moving forward. I don't know if they'll pair him with Rollins or if it's just a one-off. Maybe they extend it to the next pay-per-view, but I think it opens the floodgates to do more things with him. Now, the next match, there was rumored controversy because it's Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey. It's weird that they put the two big women's matches on the same evening. You'd think there'd be one on Saturday and one on Sunday. And there was rumors that apparently Charlotte and Ronda were supposed to be the main event of the show. And then apparently there were some other concerns. There were some differences between Rousey and WWE. Man, these are all rumors. And that she left the show. She just picked up and left. And, whether that's true or not, she's saying it's not. Well, usually when there's smoke, there's fire. Like, there was enough rumors to say that she did. Anywho, it ended up going on as expected. Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair had a pretty good match, and they're Ronda Rousey is pretty good in the ring, and Charlotte is really good in the ring. I know why people don't like Charlotte. And this match is kind of a result of why people don't like Charlotte. It's not that she's not good in the ring. It's that they made her into almost like a Brock Lesnar style. Like, she almost can't get beat by anybody. And then, more recently, that is. She is I don't know how old she is and how long she's been in WWE, but she's already a 13-time champion. So that means she's lost the belt and got it back now 13 times. I get that they want her to beat Dad's record, but Rick was 16-time champion over, decades. Has Charlotte been in WWE for a decade at this point? I don't know. But let's say she hasn't. Let's say it's only been 10 years, 8 years, and she's already a 13-time champion. She's probably going to surpass Rick and be more than a 16-time champion or 20-time champion or however they want to play it. But in this case, she beat Ronda Rousey, beat her clean. And that was Ronda Rousey. She was undefeated as a singles competitor. She's just coming back. She won the Royal Rumble. So you win the Royal Rumble, you got your shot at WrestleMania, and you lose. And it's Ronda Rousey. You'd think they would just give her the belt, kind of which also would have been bad. I don't think there was a good ending to this. And maybe that's the best ending they could come out with, is that you assume you're just slapping the belt on Ronda and she's going to kind of dominate like she dominated when she was the champ before. just like beating people mercilessly. And maybe that's an unfair comparison because I compared Charlotte to Brock Lesnar, but Ronda was more like the old Brock Lesnar where she would just mow through people. But Charlotte is definitely like maybe Cena. Maybe that's a better comparison. Like John Cena, who just gets chance after chance after chance and title after title after title. That's probably the better comparison. But in this case, beat her clean. Beat her clean with a big boot. So that's interesting. It'll be interesting to see if they go to different routes from there as to where they're gonna take this. But yeah, it was interesting to see Rousey lose because it was almost projected that she would win. And then the main event, which was great. Don't get me wrong, it's great. Kevin Owens, who's probably one of the better workers in WWE, one of the better wrestlers in WWE, that was doing a KO show, kind of like a talk show, with Stone Cold Steve Austin. And this lies in the problem with WWE, is that here's your main event, WrestleMania, night one, and you have, sure, one of your wrestlers, but then you have Stone Cold Steve Austin, who is a fantastic draw, will put butts in the seats, did put butts in the seats, but the fact is they don't have any stars, or hardly any stars, that have that sway that a Stone Cold does. They haven't in some time. And Stone Cold's been gone, other than the occasional appearance, he hasn't wrestled for 19 years, almost 20 years. So in 20 years, WWE has hardly put together any bankable stars. Definitely not more recently. You think about the guys that are like who's the top people in WWE at the moment. You got Roman Reigns, who's probably your only homegrown bankable star. And when I say homegrown, or maybe reliable bankable star, is that he didn't leave to go play football or go to the UFC, because Brock Lesnar was an original product as well, but Brock Lesnar went out and did stuff. Roman Reigns just kind of has been since John Cena left, has been your constant. You have some women, like I said, Charlotte and Becky Lynch and people like that, but I'm talking about male superstars. Who do you got? Seth Rollins? Sure. I like Seth Rollins. Randy Orton? Sure. But how many other ones? How many other ones are truly on that elite level? And who of any of them? And that's John Cena. And John Cena was, John Cena in his day was getting big pops. But Roman Reigns never got that truly big pop. I think he's doing some of his best work now, but nobody's getting that pop that Stone Cold did. Nobody. And you had so many years to build this up. You don't have a Hulk Hogan. And you don't have a Stone Cold. They don't have a Rock. They don't have anybody of that caliber. Now, I get you could say they don't grow on trees or whatever. But anyway, the main event was another worst kept secret in the world. Kevin Owens, Stone Cold Steve Austin. The idea was supposed to be an interview, but really it was set up to be a match. And they had a match. And what's funny about this is that they parade Goldberg out. Oh my God. Not saying he was here at WrestleMania, but they've paraded Goldberg out for the past, how many years now. And his matches are terrible. They are junk. And yeah, he gets a big payday. Even Undertaker, the last, couple years of The Undertaker, matches were rough. And here's Stone Cold, 19 years removed from his match. Like Kevin Owens says, has neck problems, has knee problems, has back problems. And yet in 19 years, he looks better than Goldberg or Undertaker the last few years ever did. He put on a fairly entertaining match. Now, is it a lot easier to put on an entertaining match when Kevin Owens is making you look like $1 million? Because Kevin Owens can sell with the best of them. He's probably up there, probably is, up there in the Ricochet level of dude that can make you look like $1,000,000. Because that's a huge part of wrestling. It's not just looking good, it's making the other guy look good. And Kevin Owens is a master at that. Master. And so, that became an entertaining match. It was a great match. It had all the things you wanted it to be. Kevin Owens talked about Texas and insulted Texas and insulted Stone Cold. When, the true story behind it is that, of course, Kevin Owens is a giant Stone Cold fan and always has been. So imagine you're that kid, and you grew up watching this product, and then you have a fight on WrestleMania with your childhood hero. You're close in the show. That's incredible. And, like I said, he sold it as best as he could sell it. Every bit. Sold the stunner like a champ. Got to do the stunner on Stone Cold. It was great. I loved every minute of it. But that's also the problem with WWE. The problem is that you have this great match. Great match. And then you realize that person that had this terrific match that ended the show the terrific match that ended the show is he's going to go away to Texas, and Kevin Owens will be there, and Kevin Owens is terrific, but not the same pop as a Stone Cold level. And no one has the same pop as a Stone Cold level. He came out and he did the beer thing, and then he had Byron Saxton come in, which at this point, even 20 years removed. And look, don't get me wrong. If I was a celebrity or, someone that would, Stone Cold called me into the ring to have a beer with him, I know what's going down. I know I'm getting a stunner as well. But these buzzers always come in there and they're like, oh, this is great. He's been playing the same game for 20 years now. And he did it 2 nights in a row. But we'll get into that. But you know what? I was going to make this one video. Let's make it 2 separate videos because I've been rambling on here for a long time. WrestleMania Saturday, Night 1. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What was your match of the night? For me, personally, as the gimmick, I guess you could say, Stone Cold versus Kevin Owens was my favorite match of the night. Probably second to... maybe Becky Lynch and Belair, Seth Rollins and Cody, also pretty good. Charlotte and Ronda Rousey, okay, but wasn't as good as Becky and Belair. So, I would say, just for me, as being a giant Stone Cold fan, it's always a blast to come see him do business. But yeah, that's also the problem. Similar to Hollywood being like the funk of ideas, WWE just goes like, well, we don't know what to do here. Let's just get some guy let's bring back The Rock or Stone Cold or Goldberg or The Undertaker. Let's just get these guys to come in, and they just never seem to find a way to get their guys up to that level. Not even necessarily, I guess maybe it's unfair for them to be at the Stone Cold level. But what about at just star level, because it seems a lot of these people fall short, and that's sometimes due to WWE's bad storytelling or their bad, they just don't seem to make it work exactly. But yeah, that'll wrap it up. Let me know your thoughts. WrestleMania Saturday. I thought it was a pretty good show. In fact, I thought it was going to be tough, very tough for them to top in Night 2, because Night 2 had some, some of the matches I wasn't... There was only 1 to 2 matches I was super into heading into Night 2. I thought it was going to be almost impossible for them to put on a good show Night 1. And I can tell you this as a spoiler for the next video, I was pleasantly surprised. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Guys, thanks so much for watching. If you are new here, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Like to support me on Patreon like John Bailey did. You can do so. Link is in the description below. If you'd like to buy a t-shirt, a Tomwashere t-shirt, you can do so at Spreadshirt, as well as links to my eBay store, Facebook page, Instagram, Clubhouse, and the Pennsylvania Autograph Collectors Association. Links are in the description below. Guys, thanks so much for watching. And until WrestleMania Sunday, which will be right now. I'm just going to do these videos back to back and separate them. I will see you soon. But until then, bye everyone.